Thank you, Srila Prabhupada, for reminding us how this movement is all about the heart. We're also seeing that more and more. First of all, it's like, all the rules and regulations, you can't do that, Prabhu, you're in my Prabhu. And these days now we realise it's a heart movement. So my dear Srila Prabhupada, recently your dear son Brihaspati Das sent me a poignant quote from you. I have shed buckets of blood for each and every devotee. These devotees have left everything for me they must be taken care of as sons and daughters of our preaching mission. So buckets of blood for each and every devotee, it's extremely sobering, Srila Prabhupada. And we've heard this morning about your challenges and problems and difficulties and setbacks, but your determination always to serve Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. You didn't often refer to the intense challenges and difficulties you underwent to follow Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaja's order to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. You endured poverty in the 50s and half of the 60s. You frequently went without eating. Yet you were so enthusiastic to print your Back to Godhead magazines on an empty stomach. It is my mission, you said. You fainted in the heat of Delhi, giving out this transcendental literature. You were gored by a bull. You responded courageously to setback after setback in an attempt to write and print your succinct realizations on the true and meaningful purpose of human life. Plus you made enormous sacrifice of leaving beautiful, peaceful, Krishna-centered Vrindavan to travel across the ocean in austere conditions. You were like a lotus, untouched by the mud of ignorance and depravity you found in the West. Yet you did not speak of that first year in the godless hell of New York. For those of us who met you once the movement was in its fledgling state, we knew virtually nothing of your struggles. It took years for us to learn through Lilamrita and from some who knew you in earlier days how you struggled and never lost faith in Sri Guru and Gauranga. We actually loved you before we met you, Srila Prabhupada, because the early disciples who had had the good fortune of your association, like Upendra Prabhu, who started off this movement in Australia, couldn't stop speaking of your glories. Once we had had the wondrous experience of being in your transcendental presence, we were equally smitten. It's like the opposite of a virus, because it's a spiritual infection, as if we were touched with a magic wand. It was catching, and we wanted others to bathe in the beautiful light of your association. We wondered at your beauty, your effulgence, the brilliance and divinity of your books. We marveled at your deep absorption in Krishna. And really, my favorite memory in all those years, 3.5 years, when Prabhupada would always come to Bombay, is when he would sit on the Vyasasan after he'd walked on the beach, Juga Beach. He'd come and he'd sit on the Vyasasan, he'd greet the deities, bow to Radha Rasa Bihari, and then he'd sit on the Vyasasan and get out his kartals and just so beautifully. The way he even played the kartals, it was so kind of high-class way to play the kartals. It wasn't bash, bash, bash. And then he'd be completely absorbed, like eyes closed. And then he'd open up his eyes and he'd sort of look around, but it didn't feel like he was really seeing. It was like he was still absorbed, and then he'd close his eyes again and go on singing. It was so beautiful. Yet you were very present in all your dealings with us. You were like a great general organising the troops to fight against Maya. Your preaching was so strong, appropriate to the audience, and potent. You gave us guidance, you chastised us, you loved us in a way we had not experienced. Spiritual love is not to be equated with mundane relationships. It is uplifting and transforming, nurturing and totally satisfying to the soul. We didn't understand about the buckets of blood. We just wanted to be close to you, to serve you, to hear from you, to read your books, to tell others about you and about Lord Krishna. We were needy, small children, unaware of the trials and tribulations of the parent. Add on 50 plus years since then, and we have some inkling now of the connotations of that quote, buckets of blood. If we realized the full impact of it, we would be serious day to day and moment to moment to repay you, try to repay you, by following your instructions to be conscious and then Krishna conscious, aware of our motives as we perform service, conscious of the rarity and uniqueness of any souls who take up Krishna consciousness, conscious of the power of the modes of nature that we're so entangled by and entwined with, we wouldn't need to suffer the guilt of frittering away a life that you repeatedly begged us not to waste. Kindly bestow your mercy on us to develop some urgency to hear and chant sincerely. You told us that our bead bag is our ticket back home. To reach out in love to the devotees around us and to glorify you with genuine hearts untainted with material desire, false ego and the vice-like modes of nature. I can only beg that you give me mercy, Srila Prabhupada, to attempt to disentangle myself from all these distractions and to eventually be able to love Krishna without motive but with an open heart. All glories, all glories, all glories to you, Srila Prabhupada. Thank you for giving those buckets of blood, and please allow me to always remain under your beautiful lotus feet eternally. Jai Srila Prabhupada.